Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we will implement the products feature. It's gonna follow the clean architecture. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Inside source, I'm gonna create a new folder. I have installed in VS Code a new extension. So it's gonna create for me the needed architecture. So I'm going to choose this one and I'm gonna create the parent folder. It's gonna be called product feature. For the products feature, we have the domain layer, data layer, and presentation layer. So we're going to start with defining the repository. So the models are not going to be included in domain because we have included all the models and we have done all the models inside the core module. So here I'm going to export. It's going to be an interface. The first method is going to be getProduct. So this method getProduct is going to paginate from Laravel. So we have to provide a number and it's going to give us a promise because it's going to be asynchronous. And the type of response, it's going to be pagination response from the core module, product preview. The second one is going to be getProduct, product ID, and it's going to return a promise of products stands for the product detail, get suggested products. The last function is going to be search product. So that's pretty much it for the interface. Now let's define the use cases. So inside the folder use cases, let's do, for example, get products use case. It's going to be a class and get product use case. So in parameter or in the constructor, we need to inject the service. So the service that we're going to inject is the repository. And this is where we need dependency injection. So we have to decouple the implementation from the abstraction. So here it's going to be an abstraction and the use case should not care what is the implementation for the method get products. Why, you may ask? Perhaps we will use, instead of REST API, we're going to use swap. So we never know. So actually, this is why we clean architecture, and this approach is better than any other approach. So inject, make sure to import from Vuetify. We have defined this service identifier, and in the service identifier, we're going to access the product repository. Field is going to be the repository. Annotate this as injectable. So we're going to inject, so this class can be injectable. We need to define here the service identifier. I'm going to give you all the service identifiers for this project, so we won't have to write them one by one. All the service identifiers for this project, so we're gonna have all the use cases and all the repositories that you will need. I'm going to show you guys how to make the instance, invocable instance in a bit, but we're going to write first of all the invoke method, and it's going to have the ID because it's not straightforward in the TypeScript. So you have to do some implementation in order to make an instance, invocable instance. So promise, not like just Kotlin or Swift. Swift, it's defined by default. So promise and product, and it's going to return await repository with that product preview. It's going to be product repository products, and the ID, it's going to be the ID. That's all you have to do. So it's going to be for the rest of the use cases. The second one, it's going to be get product. No need for this. Same thing for the suggestion products use case and product use case. So and the search products. So that's pretty much it for all the use cases. In order not to waste time, I'm going to couple or gather all the use cases into one class. I'm going to call it products use case. And we have to mark it as injectable. And inside the constructor, we need to pass the use cases. The trick that I found is to make this field invocable. I have prepared something for this. I'm going to implement it in the core module. I don't want to do it at the first of the tutorial, because you won't get why I did that in first place. So let's come back in the helpers file, core UI or core util. The idea is to make this, the instance invocable. So gonna be a function that's gonna do the task for us. So I'm gonna call it make invocable. So the first parameter is going to be of type T, but it's going to extend from this object, invoke multiple arguments of type any, going to return any as a type. The instance that we want to make is invocable of type T. So this is the type. We have defined the type that has invoke and going to be a callback function, multiple parameters, and the instance that you would like to make it invocable. And the return type here, T, the function should have the keyword invoke. So the callback instance that we are dealing with, calling the function, and we have to bind as invocable. Next, we're going to set the prototype of the object callback, the instance that we are dealing with, and we're going to copy all the enumerable properties from callback. So this is the target and this is the source, and we will return the callback. This is make invocable, so let's use this in our products use case. The type of this get product is not going to be only the get products use case, but you have to wrap it with return type of. We're going to use here make invocable. The type that we are dealing with is going to be get product use case. Like that for the rest of the other ones. So now we have to initialize the properties. So again, we need to inject the service, because this is a service again. The use case is going to be a service afterward. And that's pretty much it. Now we have to assign the rest of, so this gets products, for example. Here we're going to call make invocable and get products. The same thing for the rest. A little bit of work, but at the end of the day, it's going to make our instance invocable. We are done basically with domain layer. So let's move on. On the other hand, we have the DI to define our module and dependency injection for the module, and our repository. Why I have done DI here? Because I want to centralize everything here. So all the related stuff that has to deal with products feature has to be done within the product feature. And the reusable stuff, as I said before, it's going to be for the core package. So this is the main idea when dealing with clean architecture and feature-driven application. And the same approach is going to be for Swift, Kotlin, and the WPF with C#. So let's implement the products repository. First of all, it's going to be injectable class because it's going to assign the implementation to the interface. So it has to be injectable. Implement product repository. The first one, which is get product from the API service, raw get, because we want to have the raw response. As a return type, pagination response. DTO type products preview DTO. The URL products, and to access the current page, we're going to do page that we have provided as parameter. So this is the response. We have to map it pagination response. First of all, the response as first parameter, and the mapping function products DTO of type products preview DTO, and we're gonna convert it to products preview, and we're gonna pass parameter product DTO. Now let's get the detail for this product. It's gonna be very simple. Response, it's gonna be await, and again API service get, because this is gonna be according to the API response. You don't have to wrap the whole thing with try catch because this method is going to throw an exception anyway. The return type, it's going to be product DTO this time because it's we are talking about the detail, and the URL product / details. Make sure to write the exact API's endpoints. You can have the API endpoints from the API from here. That's why. So we are talking about this particular API endpoint, and we're going to return to product, which is a mapper from DTO to model. So response. Now we have the get suggested products. It's going to be a post method, and we have the response, but in the return type, it's going to be products preview DTO, an array. Let's make sure we have the correct API endpoint. So I'm going to copy this API endpoint, paste it here. Instead of products, we have to do response. And because it's an array, we will do and DTO to products preview. And we're going to do DTO. Now we have to pass the form data. Okay, let's go back to the products controller. It says search query. So let's make sure we have the same the same one here. Going to assign, it's going to be from the value of query, and that's pretty much it. So with the same thing, I'm going to copy this code, paste it here, row post, I guess, because we're going to access the raw pagination, and here it will be pagination response DTO, product DTO, URL, copy this, page. Let's make sure we have the same query, pagination response, and we pass the response and the mapping function, products preview DTO, product DTO. So that's pretty much it for our implementation. So the last thing that we have to do to define our dependency module. And if you do have experience with Kotlin and Jetpack Compose, especially when dealing with clean architecture, you have to declare this as a module, because Health, again, is the best framework out there for dependency injection, and everything that I do personally, I try to be inspired from Health. If you do remember, when we talked about core module for our application, especially in the, let's go to Vuetify configuration, I said that you're going to do something like register product feature module or something like that. This is what we are gonna do. And I have at the end of the video a bonus for you guys, auto discovering your modules. So I'm going to create here a new file. I'm gonna call it, and this is very important, so I'm gonna call it product feature module, maintaining the naming convention, or not even name, this is my naming convention, by the way. So maintaining the one naming convention per project is going to help you a lot if you want to automate things. So product feature module, and this naming convention is going to help us to auto discover all the modules in our app. It's going to be a function, and the naming here is very important. So it's going to have to start with register, product, and feature, and module. I want to maintain this kind of registrar for the function. I'm gonna use here in parameter a container from where? From Vuetify. For example, if you wanna register the repository, so we do bind the type of the service that we want to register. It's gonna be product repository as shown in Health. We need to basically show how to provide the instance of this service, because it's an interface. First of all, the service identifier, product repository, bound to product repository implementation. We're going to serve it as a singleton. With the same thing, I'm gonna do the rest, products use case to itself basically, but here it's gonna be in transient scope. So in order to save some time, I'm going to give you guys all the dependency injection for this container. Now, in order to save this, or in order to register this, you have to come back to Vuetify configuration and to do here register module, and gonna pass the container in parameter, and we have to import this one. You know, in my opinion, it's gonna work, but it's gonna defy a lot of principles, and it's going to violate a lot of principles. Among these principles is the, it's not gonna cause here any error. If you're on right now the application, nothing is gonna happen, no error is going to be shown. Theoretically speaking, you are violating something which is called, and you are causing a problem actually. If you try to do this, for example, in SwiftUI or in Kotlin with Health, it's gonna throw an error, which is circular dependencies. What does it mean? It means that the product or the product's feature is relying on this core feature. And the core feature here is relying on the products feature. As you can see, we're importing stuff from another module, which is product feature. So this is what we call circular dependencies. So right now, what I have found actually is I needed to find a way to make it to discover automatically all the modules in our app. Anything that looks like this, it has to be registered automatically. And again, this is why I didn't want to do this approach in the first of the tutorial when we were dealing with implementing the core feature of our app, because you have to understand where is the problem and how to solve the problem. So we're going to delete this. We don't need this actually. Create first of all type of a dependency module registrar. It's going to be a module because we are dealing with the module, and it's a feature, and the registrar for this module. So this type is going to have parameter of type container, basically just a function. We can do that in TypeScript. So now we have to find a way to discover all the available features in our application. So I'm gonna call them modules because we want to find the list of modules. In order to do that, I'm going to use the same as we have done in the preview solution. So it's going to be import and meta and globe. Folders we want to analyze is source because it's been configured as the source folder of our application. We need to scan all the folders that have this feature keyword. If we find a folder that has feature keyword, let's go to the data layer and let's go to the DI. So this is very important. It won't discover anything if you have specified another folder. So for the limitation of this globe function, you have to put here literal string. So you cannot make it as from config or something like that. I couldn't find actually a way to make it dynamic, but we are hard coding it for the moment. This is where we're going to discover. We don't want the entire folder, but we want the TypeScript stuff. And again, not any TypeScript, but we want something that has the trailing keyword feature module. So it's going to be feature and module and TypeScript. All right. We need to find a way to get this function and export it and use it here and to register the function. So this is what we are going to do. So const, gonna call it module, gonna be object. We have to access the values from the module. And right now we need to find a way to place the exportable modules. So we're going to do module exports module. So we're going to iterate over the entries of module exports. Export name and exported of objects and entries of module exports. You can log the found modules. We are not going to. So here what we will do, we have to check and we have to filter. So if the type of exported, it is a function, because we want to make sure it's not a class or a variable or a constant. So if it is, the export is a function, and the function should have basically this register. First of all, it has to be export. It has to have export keyword, and it has to have leading register and the trailing feature module. Perhaps you want to do some helper function here or something that's going to be private, so we don't want to export it. So this is the main idea. So in order to do that, it's like a regular expression. So going to open the regular expression, it has to have register keyword, and it's going to have the trailing feature module. And whatever in between, we don't care. What you put as a sentence, we don't care. And at the end of the regular expression, we can do this to test. I'm sorry, I have to delete this because this is a regular expression. So we want to test the export name has or respect this regular expression, and if this exported is a function. In this case, we want to cast the exported as the type that we have declared before. It's going to be feature module registrar, and we need to pass in parameter the container. So this is how to discover all the modules automatically. Perhaps I'm going to delete this. All we have to do in other modules is declare, for example, another example. Let's assume that we want to create authentication feature. So here in source, we're going to do authentication feature. And inside DI, we're going to define a TypeScript file that's going to be called authentication feature module. And it has to respect this naming conventions. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And inside this file, we're going to do export function, register, which is very important. And in this case, we are talking about authentication, register authentication, and the train is again very important, feature module, and it has to have a container, or it has to have a parameter of type container. Then whatever you're gonna do here doesn't matter, and automatically inside in Vuetify.config.TypeScript, it's going to show you, it's going to register automatically. Once you are going to run the application or refresh the page, it's going to look for all the available modules, and it's going to inject and provide the necessary dependencies. In my opinion, this is very clean. You can use it in your projects, no problem. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I hope you liked this video. I hope you have learned new stuff. And for the next part, it's going to be the second part of this feature or this video. It's going to be the presentation layer of the product feature module. See you in the next one. Happy coding!